Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today on the channel we have a car from another era, both because it's one of those cars from the past that truly convey that emotion, and because today we are talking about a car that is red, low, wide and with lots of air intakes. No need to beat around the bush, you already know we're talking about a Ferrari. Specifically what I'm telling you is that this is a Ferrari 348. So if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel, remember to like, comment and enjoy the video. The 348 is perhaps one of the most discussed Ferraris in the history of the prancing horse, certainly. Also following the interview given by Montezemolo, who didn't speak very highly of it. Let's say he described it as a car not quite up to the brand standards. He used somewhat more colorful words, but also because it was a car that indeed was a watershed for the brand. In fact, it was the last car to be produced under the supervision of Enzo Ferrari. The last car to be marketed after his death, the last two exclusively feature a manual transmission, and the last two specifically have a 5-speed manual transmission with the first gear down. But there were numerous innovative elements that this car in some measure introduced. The first, perhaps the main one, is the chassis, which in this car has been divided into two parts. A steel box section was called, that starts from the front and extends to the entire cabin too, which a trellis frame has been bolted that houses the engine. And the rear axle suspension system. Attention has also been given to styling elements, which, as it should be in a Ferrari, also have functional aspects. For example, the alloy wheels specifically these alloy wheels not only have a design function, but also serve to dissipate the heat from the braking system. Each wheel must stay on its designated side. It is not possible to swap them front to back or left to right because the tire sizes are different and they have a helical shape that helps channel air more efficiently. This is an iconic car that truly represents the era in which it was produced. This car has a lot of the 80s in it. Looking at the front, what stands out the most are the pop-up headlights, but also a series of references to another gem from the past that is very dear to Ferrari, namely the Testarossa. If you look at it from the side, you will find many elements of similarity with the Ferrari Testarossa. The main reference is this door, which features all these fiberglass slats. Applied to it, the element present. On the Testarossa was a 12-cylinder engine. This one is an 8-cylinder, 348 at 3004 V8. Like many Ferraris, the designation provides a lot of information about the engine, which is the beating heart of this car. We will see it shortly, but in some way it is set, as it was in those years, in this fantastic frame of coy stylistic references. In this configuration of the 348, it is not visible as it might be in the latest Ferraris, but it is somewhat covered here by these slats. That recall the side door and also the grille that covers this rear light cluster, which encases the Ferrari emblem. The car is a 348 terabytes with TB standing for transverse Berlinetta, because the transverse engine is a longitudinal V8. With a transverse gearbox, specifically this model features an exhaust from the Challenger. The owner indulged a car that tells a lot about the 80s, and today, thanks to our friends at Euro 4X4, we have the opportunity to talk about this car and let you enjoy it. Looking at it from the inside, you can somewhat see how this car has been preserved. A few words also on why we chose to tell you about the CO 348. The interest mainly falls on an economic discussion, specifically the 348, because it has been the subject of numerous criticisms and has experienced dark periods in terms of appreciation. However, on the other hand, this has turned into an opportunity because perhaps, no, definitely. The car, with a relatively low price, currently allows you to enter the world of Ferrari. The car in question is for sale, and by the way, it has a price of 69,000 euros. If you are interested, you can come here and get a taste and feel of its features in person. But in my opinion, from my point of view, a car like this should be bought in these conditions. Now we will show you the interiors, which are basically untouched. An additional detail that you should consider when choosing this type, namely the color combo. This one is red with cream interiors that look like they were just peeled off 15 minutes ago. Now I'll show it to you from the inside. And from the inside, we'll also appreciate some other features that can't quite be conveyed from the outside. Let's go inside. Here we are. Inside, the cabin of the 348. So a cabin, as I was saying, is very much from the 80s, also because the project started in the mid-80s, but it took almost the whole decade, coming out in 88, 89, the year it was marketed. So the dashboard has a nod to those years with an amber-colored speedometer, background, 4 indicators, odometer, tachometer, water temperature, oil pressure, but also 2 other circular elements here in the center that show the oil temperature and, of course, the fuel level. With a fantastic shifting gearbox, the famous H-pattern gearbox. This one has the first gear down, as we mentioned earlier, and so on. The very simple 3-spoke steering wheel, also because this one doesn't have airbags. And you can see this in the dashboard, which is very small, precisely because at the time there were no airbags either on the steering wheel or in the passenger compartment. Look guys, the interior of this car is really like new, also because the car has 49,000 kilometers, which for the 29 years this car has is really low. But a Ferrari should be taken like this. It should be taken right, with the right mileage. And in these conditions, a stylistic gem. And then I wanted to tell you, in my opinion, an additional point of interest for this car is the fact that it is actually 29 years old, soon to be 30, and this says a lot about a series of benefits you will enjoy by buying it now, because with the 30th year you will be entitled to pay a negligible fee for a flight and an insurance that is very, very low. And there, the attention I wanted to draw to you, take a look at this door for a moment. I don't know if you can perceive it. Yes, definitely. So the materials, right? Leather iron inside, also featured on the door. Black leather above, fabric below, as it was done in cars of the past. Pedals, slightly offset from the steering wheel, a characteristic of those years. Air conditioning. In short, it's a car that, despite being 29 years old, has its own modern features, truly innovations and novelties. The seat is comfortable. I am 6'1" inch tall, and I can tell you that I don't have any trouble finding the correct position. Guys, check this out. The handbrake isn't on the right. It's on the left. Then we will show you the images. And it goes back down to allow no obstruction when exiting the cabin. Horn. This really takes you back to Christmas Vacation 90, doesn't it? The scene with Christian De Sica and Massimo Boldi going to St. Moritz, clinging to a 2348. I'm taking a trip down memory lane. I'm getting out because I want to enjoy it from the outside, also because today is quite a hot day and it's warm inside the cabin without the engine running. See you outside.
Here we are at the engine. What is the button of this car? Indeed, it's the V8. Moreover, a lot has been done as an innovative effort because this one has a dry sump. And therefore, Ferrari engineers have managed to lower it even more compared to previous versions, also contributing to greater vehicle dynamics. Clearly, with a lower center of gravity, the driving pleasure is also enhanced. As usual, the Ferrari engine is a work of art, and in this configuration. On this model, as I mentioned earlier, on the 348, it is not visible like in the latest models, but set and hidden behind this fantastic louvered hood. However, it is still beautiful to look at in some way, a beautiful gem. This car drives me crazy, is also the rear window, which it is almost finished with. A nautical touch. Do you see how it's made? It's all glass. Guys, I challenge you to find features like this in modern cars. A window like this, apart from remaking it, well, I want to think about how much it could cost if you break this glass, but it truly shows a meticulous attention. To the car's design, I don't remember if we mentioned it, but I'll say it again anyway. The designer of this car was indeed the designer. The company is always top-notch, but the author of this car is the same person who in some way designed the Testarossa. That's why it is also called, especially in this configuration, Bernetta, the little Testarossa. It is Leonardo Fioravanti, and this justifies the many references the car has to its older sister. What can I say? It's a spectacle, and in red, it's just perfect. Now let's see if we can maybe take a ride with our friends to try it out and let you enjoy some of the sound that the Ferrari V8 clearly offers to everyone. After all, whoever buys it will, in some way, become a custodian of this piece of Italian history that is so admired around the world. Massimo, could you please give us some detailed highlights and interesting features about this car? We would love to hear more about its design, performance, and any unique aspects that make it stand out from other vehicles in its class, including its innovative technology, safety features, and overall driving experience. So, before I sat down, what I noticed compared to the cars of today is that the pedal box is a bit more to the right?
Yes, exactly.
It's a bit more distance compared to but still the driving position is fantastic in the sense that you are really inside the car, you have the right position. Even if you are quite tall, you can still stay in control.
It's not uncomfortable at all. It's actually quite a comfortable car, paradoxically, despite being a very sporty car.
From 29 years ago to the end, so for a car of that era, you get performance because it's still a high-performance car. It's still a Ferrari, so just saying that everyone stops and looks at you. Look, I even put on these glasses today, and yet it is beautiful. Despite being a Ferrari criticized by many, it is a Ferrari that truly cannot be overlooked. By the way, we might see it when we come back. This one has pop-up headlights that rise.
They were used in the 90s.
Oh yes, it's one of the really cool things. The mirror is very high, necessarily so because otherwise you wouldn't see over the rear fenders. But it actually gives good visibility. In the end, if you look at it, it doesn't seem like a car to criticize. On the contrary, I've always praised it. Also because being from 81 as a class, as a generation, I practically grew up with it. There was the Testarossa. Then this one, you saw this more than the Testarossa. Well, of course. And besides, it was one of the cars that appeared in many films. I remember earlier I mentioned Christmas Vacation 90 with the Christian De Sica, Giorgio Falletti.
There was a master. There's also the joke, Ferrari for life.
No, how was it?
Ferrari remains red.
No, he was there too. He said, I'm crazy about Ferrari. Well, we're on YouTube. Who cares? Well, but that's his joke. His joke, not ours. I support the Russians. If not the Ferraris, I support the Russians. Horn, this one is the famous one. The trumpets. I mean, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? And then, by the way, what I was saying before, in the end, the Montezemolo era is welcome because if you can buy these cars and enter the Ferrari world now, it's because the price is still not so prohibitive for a Ferrari.
No, let's say it's not low, but
it's still a Ferrari, but within the realm of Ferraris, it can intrigue you with a beautiful product that lets you enter the galaxy of the Ferrari world. With a great piece, in short.
Yes, definitely with a strong reference in the future, which also takes into account its car.
Also because, well, there's a double consideration for what you said, and that probably these others will be appreciated in a few years, just like other models have been.
Cool.
But also because this one is not yet automatic, but it will be soon. Because this one is from 93, if I remember correctly.
This is 92.
So if it hasn't reached 30 years yet, it's close, yes. Anyway, the message I wanted to convey is that once it hits 30 years, it will still have some benefits because it's a car listed as a classic. By the way, is there a CRS for this? It doesn't have it yet, but it can be added upon request. And in any case, it will be included soon as it reaches 30 years.
Regardless,
What a symphony this engine is. Clearly the car is for sale. So if you want to come and see it in person, Massimo will give you all the details. We'll also leave the information under the video, so why not? If you want to get an idea of how much the E48 is a car worth reconsidering, you have one right at your fingertips close to home. Then Massimo will show you, and once let us hear the engine. Because this is a car that needs to be driven, it's a car of its time. It's a car that isn't filtered, meaning there's nothing here, no electronics. Maybe ABS, but there's no ABS here. Power steering, it doesn't exist. You use your arms, it's an old school car, but you know this car is also for her.
you need to know how to drive it a bit, otherwise.
It becomes temperamental. 195 horsepower, in short, it's not like we're talking about the 300 of the past. Let's say thanks. All right, guys, we've reached the conclusions. So the 348 is a car that I've always personally loved, a car that has always interested me, but a car that objectively, in the context we live in, should be taken and, if you can, put in the garage. It's clearly a fairly significant expense, but of course it's all relative and depends on your budget. However, if you can, go look for it. It's a car that gives you emotions and will continue to do so. A car with performance, a car with design, a car with character. So these things will give you immediate enjoyment. You'll love it when you get it, but it will also bring you an investment to some extent. It will bring you an investment because it will surely be appreciated in the near future. If you can, if you are in Rome, and if you are interested in the test model, go visit our friends at Euro 4X4. They will surely inform you about the vehicle and provide any additional information you request. The test model is one that, from my point of view, deserves please attention. We have seen it in person and approached this car because it truly needed to be talked about. Additionally, I'll, leave this as a suggestion since our friends also have other interesting cars, including another Ferrari. If you want, leave us a comment asking us to test other Ferraris they have or other interesting cars. Because I don't know if you noticed in the video, but there were also other gems in the background, including some historic Alphas. Yes, but always cars that we like, cars with character. So this video ends here. Thank you for watching until now. I invite you to give us a like, leave us a comment, and thank you all. Bye, guys.